Sector Commander Gorod was not a happy sector commander. He was supposed to be overseeing all Corelli military operations in this sector, and, for the most part, it was going reasonably well. The trouble had started 3 centons ago, when Central Command had decided that they wanted to annex the third planet in the GC417835 system. The intelligence section had indicated at the time that it was a colony planet held by the Seron. It should have been easy, but here they were, 3 centons into it, and the planet was still not under Corelli control. Central Command was not happy about this lack of progress, so Gorod was now reviewing operations with his intelligence and operations chief. "Let's review, shall we?" Gorod said, fixing his intelligence chief with a pointed stare. 3 centons ago, you said this planet," he pointed to the planet in question on the sector display, "was a colony planet held by the Seron." Gorod flipped through his datapad to the original intelligence estimate. "You also said that there would be approximately 1,200 to 2,000 Seron citizens on the planet, probably from the Agarian caste." The intelligence chief met the commander's gaze and said, "Yes, Commander. At the time, that was the official estimate from Central Command's intelligence section. There was no mention at the time of these." The intelligence chief flipped through his own datapad, checking the term humans. The original intelligence estimate was based on semi-audible passes from 3 automated probes. The most recent pass was 9 centons ago. The pass prior to that was 11 centons ago, and the one prior to that was 13 centons ago. Imagery from all 3 passes showed the current area of operations. There was no indication of a human presence, or any other aside from the Seron settlement, anywhere. Obviously, the humans arrived, settled, and deployed all of the structures we can observe in 9 centons or less. "Fine," Gorod said. "What do we know about these humans?" "Commander, all we know about them is what we have observed here. They're a bipedal, hairless species likely on a simian evolutionary path. They're obviously spacefaring with interstellar and colonization capabilities. That implies FTL capabilities, and all the other technologies that tend to go along with it, such as energy shields, directed energy weapons, and artificial gravity. Obviously their biology is compatible with the environment, but that isn't saying much since this is a pretty benign planet. We believe that, like the Seron, these humans have a caste-based society. However, it seems that their caste system may be less rigid than most, since we have observed Agarian caste humans performing work in what is clearly a merchant caste establishment. It is possible that this is some sort of indentured servitude, but we don't think so because we do not observe any of the other social artifacts that tend to go along with indentured servitude as a social norm. As they appear to be on a simian evolutionary path, we expect fairly high strength and general physical toughness at the individual level. Typically, we'd expect an evolutionary path that favors strength and toughness to sacrifice intelligence. However, their technology indicates otherwise. They were able to deploy a complete village in less than 9 centons, something that we could not do. They obviously have a means of communication that we cannot detect. The weapons we have seen so far are all slug throwers with a chemical propellant. We assume that they reserve better weapons for their military caste. That said, their slug throwers are obviously effective. Finally, Commander, we know that the humans appear to have a customary or standard challenge. On several occasions, a human has challenged our forces to battle with the phrase, and I'm quoting here, "Come obtain an unspecified quantity." We do not know what they are referring to. Quantity of what, exactly? Gorod huffed in irritation. "Alright, that probably covers our intelligence failures. Operations, why do I not own this planet?" "Commander, we have had 4 engagements with these humans to this point. The first engagement was conducted in the standard way. The subsequent 3 were more impromptu. In our first engagement, we adhered to standard procedure. We approached the human settlement in formation and offered honourable combat on standard terms, with the winner retaining possession of the settlement and all non-combatants. After the standard response time elapsed, we fired a warning shot in the form of an airburst detonated personal explosive device over one of the structures. At that point, weapons fire began from, so far as we can tell, nearly every window facing our formation. At no point did any human respond to our butt shawl. They simply opened fire from cover and laid waste to our formation. They did, however, issue their own challenge. We do not believe that we scored any hits in that engagement. In the after-action, we analysed the actions and responses of both our warriors and the humans. Based on input from the intelligence unit, we determined that the likely issue was that these particular humans, being members of the agrarian caste, were unaware of the accepted laws of combat. You will recall, Commander, that the 3 of us had a conversation on this topic immediately afterwards. At that time, our collective decision was to provide the human military caste with a reasonable period of time to respond, arrive on planet, and set up. We assumed that the human settlement would call for military assistance." "Commander," Intelligence interrupted, "it should be noted here that we have detected no communications from the human settlement at all. Obviously, the humans must have some manner of interstellar communications. We have observed 3 vessels, classified as interstellar bulk carriers, arrive, followed by a flurry of intense orbital and suborbital flight activity, followed by the vessel's departure. We interpret this as a supply ship delivering supplies to the settlement and retrieving foodstuffs from it. We detected no communication between the surface and the vessels. Obviously, such operations cannot be conducted without communications of some kind, so we must assume that the humans have some form of interstellar communications that we cannot detect. That is a reasonable assessment. Operations, please continue, Commander Gorod said. Our second engagement arose from our decision to scout and gather intelligence while we waited for the human military cast to arrive. Scout Subunit 3 approached a set of human structures approximately 500 kalends away from the main settlement. We ordered them out there to investigate a collection of structures set up away from the main settlement. We assume these must be unrelated to the main settlement, and therefore likely military in nature. According to the one survivor and the subunit's personal data loggers, Scout Subunit 3 approached the first structure and found it to be agricultural equipment storage, but unoccupied. They then approached the second structure. It was found to contain some kind of machinery. We believe it to be a water pump, filtration plant, and other similar equipment. Scout Subunit 3 then approached the third structure. That structure turned out to be self-contained quarters. The subunit entered the structure and was almost immediately attacked by a human occupant. This human was quite small and unable to produce actual harm to the subunit. However, having been challenged, the subunit returned fire, dispatching the human with 6 shots fired. Shortly thereafter, another human engaged the subunit with steel blades. Again, having been challenged, the subunit engaged the human and killed it, this time with 8 shots fired. As the subunit examined the rest of the structure, a third human, this one significantly larger than the other two, entered the structure. It found the first 2 humans, whereupon it made an exceptionally loud vocalization. We believe it to be some manner of distress vocalization that does not translate. This third human produced a weapon and attacked the subunit. It shot 2 scouts from behind before retreating from the structure. The other 4 scouts pursued the human out of the structure. The human re-engaged the scouts in the first structure with a significantly larger weapon. The human issued a challenge that we do not understand. It called out loudly, and I quote, "Come obtain an unspecified quantity you may spawn of a canid." We have absolutely no idea what that is supposed to mean, but does appear to be a direct challenge given its usage in both engagements. The other 2 engagements largely went the same way as the second. Sector Commander Gorod made a thoroughly exasperated noise. Are you seriously telling me that we lost an entire unit of scouts? 6 subunits in 4 engagements with these humans? Operations fidgeted slightly. No, Commander. 2 of those subunits were lost in engagements with an unknown creature. We are certain that these subunits were not lost to human forces on the grounds that there were no signs of incoming fire. However, in both cases, large areas were trampled and destroyed. In one case, the bodies of all subunit members were clustered together. Commander, they were very nearly flat. Something surprised the subunit and quite literally crushed them all to death. They didn't even get a shot off. The creature simply attacked the subunit, crushed them all to death, and wandered off back into the forest. In the second case, the subunit emptied every power pack they carried and even used at least one personal explosive. We think they may have seriously injured or even killed one of these creatures. There was clear evidence of a high volume of outgoing fire and a lot of blood and gore that we could not account for. Finally, there was a series of drag marks out of the area and towards the human settlement, so we think it is possible that our subunit managed to kill the creature, and the humans dragged the carcass away for some reason. Regardless, it represents an unknown life form. It is probably some kind of wild animal, but may or may not be native to this planet. Enough! Shouted Gorod. What have we learned here, and how do we rectify these shortcomings in the future? Intelligence and operations glanced at each other, but Intelligence spoke up first. Commander, we can sum this all up to the following terms. First, humans do not fight with honor, or at least their non-military castes do not fight with honor. This will have an impact on the way that we engage human units going forward. Second, without more information about the wildlife in the area, we should send out every scout subunit with at least 1 or 2 warriors. The additional armor and firepower should be sufficient to deal with these creatures. Third, we must assume that the human military caste has significantly better capabilities than the non-military humans we dealt with to this point. For this reason, I advise that we send in additional warrior units, as well as a replacement scout unit. Finally, Commander, we should issue a new standing order for all units. Under no circumstances should any unit, subunit, or individual ever attempt to acquire an unspecified quantity, even if challenged to do so by a human.